We are live.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Elyria City Council. We're having a special meeting for February 22nd, 2021. At this particular time, I'd ask everybody for a moment of reflective stand for a moment of reflective silence followed by the pledge, and then we'll call the meeting to order. Ms. Mitchell, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, go ahead, Donna.
Okay, I'm sorry. Of the United States.
I pledge allegiance
Flag
of the United
Of the
States
United
of
States.
America,
and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Must have some background feed.
I think it's coming from Kenny being in the office.
Kenny, can you make sure that all of the microphones around you are off, please?
The microphones?
Yeah, and council, make sure all the green lights are off around you, anything that can pick up your audio.
Okay, Mr. Lacko.
Yes, sir. Mr. Callahan.
Here.
Mr. Sira. Mr. Sira.
Here.
Mr. Oswald.
Here.
Mr. Baird. Mrs. Mitchell.
Here.
Mr. Tollett.
Here.
Mrs. Simmons.
Here.
Mrs. Davis.
Here.
Mrs. Keys.
Here.
Mr. Jesse.
Here.
Mr. Stewart.
Here.
We have one absent, Mr. Baird, who has an excuse.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Key, second by Ms. Mitchell. Any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
You are hereby notified that a public hearings will be held on Monday, February 22nd, 2021 at 6 p.m. during a virtual Elyria City special council meeting to consider the following. An ordinance amending section 1131.02 codified ordinances of the city of Elyria, Ohio, known as the zoning ordinance to rezone real property located at 4900 Midway Mall and 4950 Midway Mall, Elyria, Ohio, from B-G Business General District to a L-I Light Industrial District and declaring an emergency.
Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? I declare this public hearing has been held.
Ordinance amending section 1131.02 codified ordinances of the city of Elyria, Ohio, known as the zoning ordinance to rezone real property located at 4900 Midway Mall and 4950 Midway Mall, Elyria, Ohio, from B-G Business General District to L-I Light Industrial District and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Bruni.
it's come to our attention that the prerequisites on this have not been fulfilled. Therefore, we cannot proceed to the passage of this at this time. You have held the public hearing, but we're going to have to hold off on the passage of the ordinance until the next meeting, provided those contingencies have been fulfilled.
Okay. I was made aware by Mr. Bruning earlier before tonight. There were some of the agreements that need to be held, like what he had just mentioned, so we cannot move forward without these deed restrictions. So,
And through you, Mr. Chair, I did speak with Assistant Safety Service Director Calvert prior to the meeting, and she had indicated that ICP had indicated their desire to table the first matter on the agenda at this time.
okay. All right. So we'll table this, that item number 1.
Are we tabling or declaring to have a third reading?
I don't see any problem with declaring that a third reading has been held. However, the matter is being tabled. Mr. Brunig, do you have any issue with that?
Thank you, Director. I would say that even though we don't normally do it, there is no issue with having a fourth reading on the matter. So we could have had the third reading today and the public hearing, and we will pass it on the fourth reading at the next meeting, again, provided those contingencies are met.
Okay. We'll move forward with that direction then.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would suggest that the matter, since ICP has requested it's being tabled, that the matter would remain tabled until it is brought forth at their request or the city's request upon satisfaction of the conditions. Should it be desired, I know that there's some other issues that may resolve, perhaps rendering this moot. Not that I want to get into that at this time, but that this matter could be returned to the agenda at such time as it would be necessary, and we could hold the fourth reading and hold a vote at that time.
Okay, very good. So we'll have the third reading, and but we will table it until we are here otherwise from the administration or from ICP.
Thank you.
Next item.
Mr. Mayor has his hand up.
So, Mayor Whitfield?
Hey, thank you, and thank you, Councilwoman Mitchell. So just to add some context to this, as you knew, we kind of had two threads going at once. One was the individual parcel of the Sears building that had the deed restrictions on it. And then following that, right behind it, we had the zoning overlay that would apply that overlay to the mall area, including that parcel. So the Assistant Safety Service Director can correct me if I'm wrong, but my belief is that they are, if we move forward with the zoning overlay, they no longer even deed restriction for the other property. So they would just take that off the table. So a part of tabling it is seeing if we're going to pass the zoning overlay, and if we do that, then they'll just be able to remove that from the agenda altogether.
Okay. Ms. Calvert, is that true, or Mr. Bruning, you want to weigh in, or Law Director Geary, based on what's being
Through you, Mr. Chair, and sorry, Ms. Calvert, I didn't mean to jump on you. I don't think it's appropriate at this time for my office to surmise what ICP may or may not be doing. That certainly does sound logical, but I think at this time, I think the best course of action would be to declare the public hearing's been held, that we've held this for third reading, and continue on with the agenda. And as the mayor has indicated, then ICP will go from there. And I think that the zoning will be in decent shape to allow the redevelopment to occur as all parties hope it to be.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right. Mr. Clerk, we'll go on to the second item.
Alrighty. You are hereby notified that a public hearing will be held on Monday, February 22nd, 2021 at 6 p.m. during a virtual Leary City's special council meeting to consider the following: an ordinance amending section 1131.02 codified ordinances of the city of Elyria, Ohio, known as the zoning ordinance, to rezone real property located at 621 49th Street, Elyria, Ohio, from a B-N business neighborhood district to a B-AO business automotive orient district.
Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? I declare this public hearing has been held.
An ordinance amending section 1131.02 codified ordinances of the city of Elyria, Ohio, known as the zoning ordinance to rezone real property located at 621 49th Street, Elyria, Ohio, from a B-N Business Neighborhood District to a B-AO Business Automotive Orient District.
Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Bruni.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, like the first one, it has come to my attention today, and as I previously informed you, there was a contingency placed on this property by Planning Commission and affirmed by Community Development Committee as well, that at this time has not been met. Did speak with Administrative Legal Counsel Taylor earlier today. He confirmed that the lot consolidation has not occurred, but that it is in process. So as Law Director Deary suggested for the last matter, I would suggest we again table this one. We've had the public hearing, we've had the third reading, and we can table this until such time as we are informed that consolidation has occurred.
Okay, very good. Mayor Whitfield, did you want to weigh in anything more on that, Mayor?
No, that was it. Eric got it.
Okay, then we'll move forward with the third reading and table till further information comes about. All right,
Next
Mr.
item.
Lucko. Yep.
You are hereby notified of a public hearing will be held on Monday, February 22nd, 2021 at 6 p.m. during a special virtual Elyria City Council meeting to consider the following. An ordinance amending section 1131.02 codified ordinances of the city of Elyria, Ohio, known as the zoning ordinance, to establish a redevelopment overlay district.
Is that and declaring an emergency?
It's not on here, but
Yes.
It is an emergency. Yes.
yes, it is an emergency
Okay.
and declared emergency.
Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? I declare this public hearing has been held.
An ordinance amending Elyria codified ordinances by establishing, excuse me, am I ahead of myself here? Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay. An ordinance amending Elyria codified ordinance by establishing a new chapter 1176 redevelopment overlay district, RDOD, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Callahan,
Mr. President, I move that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Second.
second by Ms. Mitchell, I believe. Is there any further discussion
Question.
on the suspension? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
That's all the public hearings.
Through you, Mr. Chair,
Ordinance.
there are three
Mr.
other
Brewer.
ordinances up this
Yes.
evening.
Correct. Ready?
Yep, go ahead, Mr.
Okay. An ordinance amending Elyria codified ordinance chapter 1183 design review to add a new division in section 1138.01 purpose and declare an emergency.
Are these, excuse me, are these under the public hearings or are these just for the ordinance? These are public hearings, I believe, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? I declare this public hearing has been held.
An ordinance amending Elyria codified ordinance chapter 1138 design review to add a new division in section 1138.01 purpose and declare an emergency.
Mr. Callahan,
Mr. President, I move that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Second.
second by Ms. Mitchell. Is there any further discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Sarah?
Through you, is that 1138 or 1183?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's 1183.
Thank you.
Does the motion concur?
I concur.
And as does the second?
Second concurs.
Okay. Is there any further discussion
Question on the motion.
on the suspension? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2021-35.
Mr. Laco, was the
Sir.
ordinance for number 3, then I'm guessing 34? The prior one?
Correct. Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Sorry about
All
that.
right, we're ready to go forward.
Trying. A lot of confusion here tonight. An ordinance amending the design review guidelines and declaring an emergency.
Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? I declare this public hearing has been held.
Sponsored by Community Development. An ordinance amending the design review guidelines and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Callahan,
Mr. President, I move that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules and declare an emergency.
Second.
second by Ms. Mitchell. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2021-36. An ordinance amending Elyria Codified Ordinance, Chapter 1137, Supplemental District Regulations, Section 1137.15, Fences, Walls, and Hedges, and declaring an emergency.
Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? I declare this public hearing has been held.
Sponsored by Community Development. An ordinance amending Elyria Codified Ordinances, Chapter 1137, Supplemental District Regulations, Section 1137.15, Fences, Walls, and Hedges, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Callahan,
Mr. President, I move that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules and declare an emergency.
Second.
second by Ms. Simmons.
Mhm.
Is there any further discussion?
Question on the motion.
Question's been called. On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2021-37. There's no further business.
Hearing there's no further business, entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Moved by Mr.
Second.
Sarah. Second by Ms. Keys. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. And at this time, I'll have Mr. Callahan when he's ready to go for community development.
Well, thank you, Mr. Stewart, and we'll be ready to go here in about 10 seconds if everybody's ready. We're all set, so. Okay, we'll go ahead and start the community development. We only have one item on the agenda tonight. That would be the matter of an appointment of one member to the Lorraine Energy Special Improvement District Board. Assistant Safety Service Director Calvert.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So late last year, when City Council voted and agreed to join the Lorraine Energy Special Improvement District, which was necessary to allow us to provide PACE lending throughout the city, we automatically received 2 board chairs for the Lorraine Energy Special Improvement District. One of those chairs is an appointee of the mayor, and the mayor has asked me to serve in that role, so I will be that appointee. The other appointee is one that City Council appoints. So that is the reason that it's been referred tonight, is for you to make your selection on who you would like to be your appointee to the board. There's typically, in the past, there's been 1, maybe 2 meetings per year, but I think with the expansion of the ESID and the growing popularity of PACE financing, there is the potential to have more. I think we're forecasting probably 3 or 4 this year, minimum. The responsibility of that board member will be to vote on all projects, all PACE projects that are brought into the Lorraine Energy Special Improvement District, and then as well as just typical governance. So if any governance issues comes up for the board, this board member will be asked to vote on those items as well.
Okay, thank you very much. I do appreciate that. Just wanted to let everybody know, the committee and everyone on the panel, that Councilwoman Brenda K. Davis has agreed to serve on the board as our designee. I'll ask Brenda if she wants to say anything.
Just thank you for your thoughts of even calling to recognize that we had this appointment, and I will serve you well.
Thank you so much, and I know you will, and we appreciate you serving for us and representing us. And one other thing I'd like to tell you, Brenda, is I found out late this afternoon from Assistant Safety Director Dawn Calvert that it's the term is as long as you want it. So, I wish you luck, and I wish you success, and I know you're going to do a fantastic job. So thank you again. You're welcome. You're welcome. So I'm going to read the committee report. We have considered the matter of an appointment to the Lorraine Energy Special Improvement District Board. This will be a resolution appointing Brenda K. Davis to the said district board. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Mitchell and seconded by Mr. Sarah.
Question.
Question on the motion. All those in favor of the motion, use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Thank you very much, and congratulations to Brenda K. Davis. Thank you.
Thank you all.
You're welcome. You're welcome. At this time, I would just go ahead and ask Mr. Stewart to go ahead and call finance so we can go right into the joint meeting.
Yes, Mr. Callen, I'll call finance to order.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. 4 items on the agenda tonight. The first one is the approval of the February 8th joint community development meeting minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Sarah,
Second.
second by Mr. Tolet.
Question.
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Mr.
Item
Callen,
two- Yes,
just so that I know it's on the record in the first special meeting, but Mr. Baird will not be here, obviously, for this meeting as well for community development joint and the finance meeting.
okay, yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay, the matter of the next item is the matter of the CDBG action plan, substantial amendment for 2020. Do I have Community Development Director Scott?
Thank you. This is Mona with Community Development
Okay.
for this piece. But this is just kind of the same how we presented it the last time at the public hearing. It's just the cleanup that, we do every year with the unused public service dollars from the allocation grant. And we're just basically proposing to move it into some of the unused dollars into legal services with legal aid, fair housing with the Urban League, housing rehab, and we're going to switch some of the CDBG COVID funds from the food bank activity into youth services and senior services, as the food bank organizations that we were funding before, we moved them into the CARES Act funds because of the benefit forms that were required. That was just better suited for their needs. We did have a comment period for this, for the public, if they had questions or concerns with this new proposal, and we did not receive any public comments. So this is just kind of moving forward with what was presented last week. I didn't make any changes.
Okay, thank you so much. Are there any questions from anyone? Okay, I believe there's no action to be taken.
Oh, I thought that we were going to ask for a vote tonight.
Okay. Give me one moment. All right, I apologize, everyone. Okay, we have considered the matter of the CDBG action plan substantial amendment. This is an ordinance authorizing the said amendment for the fiscal year 2020. Can I get a motion from community development?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Sarah, seconded by Mrs. Mitchell.
Question.
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Can I get a motion from finance?
So
So
moved,
moved.
Mr. Chair.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Davis, second by Mr. Tolet. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Yes, thank you. Okay, we will move on to the next item, which is the matter of the review and approval of the downtown facade improvement program. Applications for improvements to 333 Broad Street. Assistant Safety Service Director Calvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we received an application from KCJ Properties, which is also known as Inside Out Pilates, for phase 2 of their facade improvements, which includes AZAC PVC wrap across the front of the building. The total project cost is $9,800, and they are requesting a $4,900 reimbursement, which is in line with the terms of the program. They have completed all of the eligibility requirements, and they received approval from Planning Commission on January 7th of last year for this project.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, I will read the committee report. We have considered the matter of a downtown facade improvement program applications for the improvements to 333 Broad Street. This is an ordinance authorizing the said facade improvement application for $4,900 to be reimbursed for the said project improvement project. Can I get a motion from community development?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Mitchell and seconded by Mr. Sarah.
Question.
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Thank you.
Can I get a motion from finance?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Tolet. Second by Ms. Davis. I read your lips. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called.
Sorry.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, one more item for the joint meeting here. Item 4 is the matter of review and approval of recommendations from the Tax Incentive Review Council, which met on February 11th. Do we have Community Development Director Scott, or Mona is going to take this?
Thank you. Oh, no, I got this one. It's Director Scott.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you. So the Tax Incentive Review Council met on February 11th. Their recommendations are as follows. The first is to continue existing enterprise zone, community reinvestment area agreements, and the residential CRA agreements at the current abatement levels. Second is to terminate Amware Distribution Agreement 045-1803 at the request of the enterprise. The third one is to amend Amware Distribution Agreement 045-1804 legislation to correct the minimum investment amount from $750,000 to $638,431. The fourth recommendation is to amend the Hydro Air Agreement to extend the completion date to December 31st of 2022. And lastly, to amend the Big O Enterprises Agreement to extend the completion date to December 31st of 2021.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would just note that based upon the referral, Community Development is requesting that this would be passed on an emergency.
Passed on an emergency. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Oh, sorry, Mr. Oswald.
Just a question through you, Mr. Chair. When something is disallowed or changed, is it because maybe they can't meet the requirements and then we work with them? Because I did notice some of them, they didn't want to continue their abatements. So could somebody clarify me when they are disallowed? Thank you.
Through you, yes, if certain requirements aren't able to be met, if they were more local requirements, then we can work with the company on that. ORC does have other requirements, whereas if those cannot be met, then they are not eligible under the ORC to receive the assistance. With regard to the Amware agreement, that was at the request of the enterprise because they ended up entering into a long-term lease with another company for that facility, so they're not going to be doing the project at this time.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of the recommendations of the Tax Incentive Review Council, which met on February 11th, 2021. It's an ordinance authorizing to accept the said recommendations from the TIRC as per the attached, and this would be passed as an emergency. Could I get a motion from Community Development?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Sarah, seconded by Mrs. Mitchell.
Question.
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Can I get a motion from Finance?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Tolet,
Second.
second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Okay. At this time, there's no further business for the community development. I know Mr. Stewart will carry on with finance, but seeing no further business, I'd accept a motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved.
move. Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Mitchell, seconded by Mr. Sarah.
Question.
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign. Aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Community development is adjourned. Carry on, Mr. Stewart.
Okay. Is everyone good from finance? Do you need to excuse yourself for a couple minutes? If not, we'll just move on forward. Okay. Item number one, we have the approval of the regular finance meeting minutes for February 8th, 2021. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Tolet,
Second.
second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item number one, we consider the matter of authorize the mayor to enter into professional service contract for labor issues and orders authorize the mayor to enter into a professional service contract with, is it Rotzel and Andrus for labor and legal counseling for the sum of not to exceed $150,000. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Tolet,
Second.
second by Ms. Davis. Safety Service Director Brubaker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Earlier this year, you passed an ordinance authorizing the same situation for Walter Haverfield. We were notified at, I think, the end of January that Ms. Anderson was leaving that firm and was transferring over to this firm here. And with the law director's guidance and the mayor's guidance, we went ahead and wanted to change over that contract. Same principles, same contract view as the other one, so we keep continuity with Ms. Anderson.
Sure. What do we know about the firm? Does anybody know about Rotzel and Andrus?
For you, Mr. Chair, I can't speak specifics about the firm, but I can tell you that our department has had the opportunity to review the contract. The terms are identical to what the city had entered into regarding the services that Attorney Anderson was supplying to the city with her previous firm. I thought that was important that members of council knew that.
Sure. Okay. Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, do we, and this is probably for Amanda as well, in this, what we're discussing here, do we need to terminate the previous agreement at the same time?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we did take a look at that, and the contract with Walter Haverfield had not been finalized. Even if it had been, however, it was determined that there was nothing that mandated us to utilize their services. So on both counts, I definitely appreciate the question, but no, we're good to go on that front. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Question? Call for the question.
I'll call for the question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item number 3. We consider the matter of certain city property that is no longer fit for Elyria municipal use. A resolution finding that the city has certain property that is unfit for public use. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Ms.
Second.
Davis, second by Mr. Tolet. Safety Service Director Brubaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this was referred to me by Mr. Henderson, who is online too. So if there's any detailed questions, I'm sure he can answer, but we have a great amount of computer equipment, old units, monitors, and whatnot that we needed to get rid of, and we wanted to be able to recycle them so we can be green positive, if you will, or tech positive. So what this is going to allow us to do is we will open a PO with Regency Technologies, who will take this equipment. They will shred our hard drives and all the remaining equipment. They will recycle, and they will actually give a percentage of that dollars back to the city on the recyclable parts. So we're serving a purpose of getting rid of a bunch of old equipment that cannot be used by any other purpose, and is also recycling that so we better the environment.
Okay. Is there any further discussions? Mr. Henderson, did you want to weigh anything more on that, or did Mr. Brubaker cover it?
Mr. Brubaker did a great job covering it.
All right, very good. Is there any further discussion?
I'll call for the question.
Through you, Mr.
Oh,
Through
Ms.
you, Mr.
Davis?
Chair.
Ms. Davis?
Yes, a couple of questions for Mr. Brubaker. Is there any way that residents can contribute? I'm sure that, could we dump our old computers and you get the money off of those, or it has to be from the city?
Well, Mr. President, or Mr. Chairman, through you, I am not sure about that. I know the county has the recycling center that they can take stuff to, which obviously they don't get any funding back from that. This is something we can look into through the mayor's office to see if there's a way that we can create a similar like we do on Shred Day. That's certainly something we can look into. For this particular case, this would be city relative.
Okay, my other question through you, Mr. Chair, is that monitors, now that the kids are all at home doing virtual, just about, none of these monitors can be used for people who just need a monitor?
Again, through you, Mr. Chairman, these monitors are broken pieces of equipment that are also outdated, that aren't utilized for the technology for today. And in reality, a lot of this stuff was replaced from stuff we bought 10, 15, 20 years ago that was just replaced in the last couple of years.
Thank you.
Mayor Whitfield?
Thank you, Council President. So, and thank you for that, Councilwoman Davis. So you're right on point in terms of how we're thinking about this as well, in terms of trying to get as many residents we can with the technology and training they need. A part of what you all voted on earlier is going to free up some resources for us to be able to do some computer training. And we've been in some great discussions with Windstream and Goodwill about them helping us get devices in people's hands. So, I'll be working with the Safety Service Director and trying to see how we can make sure this gets a cycle back. And last year we did a drive where people who had technology weren't using it could donate it. So I can see us doing the same thing again this year.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion? Ms. Deary?
Through you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Henderson or Mr. Brubaker, if you'd be so kind as to get my office an exhibit, a list of the exact items that are going to be scrapped, if you will, or donated, what have you, that will greatly help us put together the resolution and the ordinance.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, that's exactly right, Ms. Deary, our Law Director Deary. Mr. Henderson does have that. It was in excess of several hundred items, so I did not include that with referral, but we knew that would be needed for the ordinance itself for Monday night.
Perfect. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion?
Call for the question.
Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carried. That was on the resolution. This would be the follow-up for the ordinance. We've considered the matter of city property that is no longer fit for Elyria municipal use, and ordinance authorizing the city to dispose of certain city property that is no longer fit for municipal use to be sold by the best means possible. And we have an attachment for the discussion that was just had. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So move.
Moved by
Through you, Mr.
Tolet.
Chair, I'm sorry, I would just amend that committee report to say that to be disposed of best means possible, not necessarily sold.
To be disposed of. Does the motion concur?
I concur.
Does the second?
Second.
Second concurs. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item number 4, we've considered the matter of amending the salary ordinance number 2019-94. In order to authorize the finance director to establish an additional job position already considered by the salary structure, finance department specialists. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Tolet,
Second.
second by Ms. Davis. Assistant Finance Director Farrell.
I can take that,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Finance Director Plesky.
Yeah, so actually, everybody should have received a narrative prepared by Mr. Farrell regarding our desire to create a finance department specialist similar to and actually mirroring the department specialist in the HR department. So we're asking that we set up a finance department specialist at the C42 pay grade, just like in the human resources department, as they are doing similar work. And also, you know, in payroll, we have to deal with ongoing audits of the Ohio Police and Fire Pension, Ohio Public Employees Retirement System, constant changes of the contracts. So we're just trying to even things up a little bit and have a finance specialist, department specialist at the C42 pay grade.
Okay. Very good. Is there any discussion regarding that? I know that Mr. Plesky and I and Mr. Farrell kind of talked about this previously, that, you know, his department, like everyone else's department, is, you know, doing a lot more, and they're trying to kind of get a balance over there. So I think this is a need that they filled in their department, would be justified over and through. So I thought I seen someone waving their hand before. Ms. Davis.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Pileski, is this somebody you have to seek out, or is it someone we can use in-house?
Through you, no, through you, Mr. Chair. No, this is not a new, would be not a new hire. This is for an existing employee who's been on the job for many years, and just, you know, as time has gone on, it's become more and more specialized in the payroll department, and just with changes to overtime pay and contract changes, that, you know, I think that position deserves to be at the C42 pay grade.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion?
Call for the question.
Question's been called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Item number 5, we've considered the matter amended to the salary ordinance number 2019-94, an ordinance authorizing a 1% pay raise and a $250 stipend for certain Chapter 165 employees. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Ms. Davis.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tolet. This is part of a referral that I had made in regard to seeing that we had all the other collective bargaining units receive their 1% and their $250 stipend. We felt that it was right to include the Chapter 165 to come up to speed with the other bargaining units. So I think this is, you know, part of moving forward, but I know in saying moving forward, we're going to have to kind of really see what the end of this year holds, because we're going to be coming into some major transitions here, and really keeping an eye on the budget and then the leadership of Mr. Pileski and leading us where that's at. So is there any further discussion in regards to that? Mr. Tolet.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think the 1% is extremely fair. And again, to reiterate your point, it's in line with the other departments. So I will support this.
Yep. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. All right, item number 6. This will just be for discussion only tonight, because I know this is a long process here. That so let's get it on the floor. The matter of the 2021 permanent appropriations. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Ms. Davis.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tolet. So I'll turn it over to Finance Director Pileski, and then You know, if the mayor wants to weigh in on some things that I think it's kind of important to see with the path that we're going on over and through here, and really getting on this budget and making sure that we're in line with everything we need to do. So Finance Director Pileski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe on Saturday, John emailed out everybody a rather large batch of information with background to the budget. So I'm just going to go over, do a quick overview of what you received. And I think that I have everything in the proper order that you may have it in. But at any rate, I'm going to go through each individual item that we sent you, so you know what basically what you're looking at. So it starts out with a one-page document of estimated resources. Actually, it starts with beginning cash, estimated resources, which gives us the amount available to appropriate. And then in the first yellow column, we have the department requests by fund total. And then comparing that to the amount available to appropriate gives you the amount over or under the amount available to appropriate. So as you can see, after the first go around, the general fund was, the department request was $158,258 higher than what was available to appropriate. So as you move on to the right, and then you have the finance administration, that's after John and myself did the review of everybody's request and corrected a few things and took some things out, added some things. And we got that number down below the amount available to appropriate. So as it stands right now, there's still $4,504 left to appropriate in the general fund. So as you scroll down this page, this includes every single fund that we budget. All the special revenue funds, the enterprise funds, which is your water, sewer, sanitation, your internal service fund, which is the employees' health insurance fund and workers' compensation, your debt retirement funds, your capital project funds. So that is actually the beginning, the starting point of the budget document. And I know you're going to need some time to go through all this stuff. So as with all this information, if you have any questions, concerns, feel free to call or stop in, or we can discuss at the next finance meeting. Following that, we put together a table of contents, or an index, if you will, of where you can find all of these, all this information in the packet. That's about a 4-page document, 5-page. And then moving on to the budget reports. The first one is a 46-page document, and that is a overview of the revenues, and it goes over actual for 2018, 19, and 20, and then the 2021 request, and then where we at with the finance administration's totals. And that is a real high overview. That's basically by fund and by department. It doesn't break anything down, which that comes in a later report, but this is kind of like a summary of each fund at the highest level. So that goes through each individual fund, and that's the document that's 46 pages long.
Right.
Bear with me to get to the next one. The next one is the 2021 budget, and this breaks it down even further by revenue line item, by fund, and also by department and by major account, which is how you pass the budget. You pass the budget first by fund, then by department, then by major account. Those are the levels that we appropriate. So this 53-page document goes through every fund, goes through the revenues, actual amounts. It goes through all the budget amounts for this year, what was requested, where we're at now. And this goes through each individual department within each fund and by each major account. That one is the 53-page document. The next one is a rather large one. This one is 101 pages long. And this is, breaks down the revenue even further. Before you just had revenue by major line item. This goes all into all the minor line items within the revenue accounts, as well as the minor line items within the departments and the amount appropriated for each line item, the amount spent in 2018, 19, 20, 21 department request, finance administration totals. Keep in mind that when you're looking at this document, in a lot of departments, you're going to see that the actual spent last year is lower than what's been budgeted for this year. And that is mainly because of the CARES Act money. We were able to take a lot of salaries and wages and benefits out of the CARES Act, the local coronavirus relief fund, as opposed to, for example, the general fund, the street construction M&R fund. There was a lot of remote status pay that was paid directly out of the local coronavirus relief fund, and as well as in the police and fire department. So you're going to see a little bit of difference, and that's the main reason why, is because of the CARES Act money that we received last year. There is no, as of now, there is no coronavirus relief monies in this budget, as no stimulus package has yet to been passed. So at that point in time, if we do get a relief bill passed and the cities receive money, we'll bring that information to finance and the council to amend what becomes the permanent appropriation.
Ted, if I could interrupt, does anybody have any questions? I know we're just kind of going over the broad brush of everything, but we're going to have another meeting on the 8th, and I'd like to do that in council chambers. I know this was a little bit more of a challenge tonight just because of the special meeting and but we would like to go back into full council chambers on the 8th for the finance meeting minutes, just to have that committee there. But is anybody here that I can see, Mr. Tolet or Ms. Davis, have any questions, or anybody else who I can't see at this particular time?
More of a comment, again, how this is broken down on this last one, the 100-pager, Ted, is unbelievable. I had no idea with the police department. I mean,
yeah, this is
how detailed. It's amazing.
This is what we go through during payroll. If you go just through the first personal services, you've got overtime, comp time, vacation, accumulated sick. I mean, it
just spells it out.
Yeah, you'd be amazed at what the payroll department has to go through to put through a paycheck every 2 weeks.
Well, also it makes your request for the specialist position,
right.
This really highlights it even more. So.
Okay, Ted.
And then the next one is just a single page document, and this is the 2016.50% income tax summary since its inception, and how much we've collected, where we've spent it. This, in other words, is the issue 6 summary through 2020, and then what's requested for 2021. And then we break that down even further. Following is the 9-page document, which is color shaded in green and orange, I guess, rust colored. And this is basically all of the projects that are being proposed out of the issue 6 monies for this year coming up. And it would also include any carryover encumbrances that we brought forward into this year. I know there was a large encumbrance in the street repair department because there was 2 phases of the street program last year, and neither one of them are actually fully completed, but we have not yet made a payment on the phase 2, which we'll be paying this year. But this gives you an idea of what's on tap for this year, including the parks department. Street repair doesn't go into streets per se because I don't believe we have that list yet, but this kind of says it all as far as what we're going to do with issue 6, or what's proposed, if council approves. And I think that is the last document that we sent out. I know it's a lot to go through, but I want to commend John, Mr. Farrell, for putting this all together. This is probably one of the most comprehensive displays of the budget we've had to date. I can tell you that going into this year, I was quite concerned about income tax collections. And as you know, we started January out very poorly and rebounded somewhat in February. But I can tell you that my initial estimate for income tax revenues, which would affect the general fund, the 2016 0.5% income tax fund, and the police levy fund, I forecasted a 5% drop in income tax revenue as compared to last year. I'm hoping that becomes too conservative. I don't know. I mean, I don't think we're out of this mess yet with COVID and the economy. And, you know, I'm hoping I don't have to drop it further. I'm hoping actually 5% is like I said,
Just enough to cover
you
it.
know, the more conservative I am, you know, if I'm proven wrong, that's a good thing. So, and then, of course, moving in toward the end of this year and next year, we've got to start forecasting the loss of Bendix, which is going to affect next year's budget more so than this year. But I guess that's about it. Again, if you, as you're going through this during your spare time or whatever, and if you need to talk to me or John before the next meeting, feel free to reach out. I know it's a lot to go through, but there you have it.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Pileski, the budget needs to be passed before the end of March. Is that
correct?
Correct. How soon? I mean, what is your target date to have this complete?
Well, we have a council meeting. I guess it would be the second meeting in March would be the, which would be what the
Be the
It
15th?
is, it's March 15th.
15th, yeah.
So
That would be the last regular meeting. We can, I mean, if you needed more time, we would have to call a special council meeting before the 31st then, between the 15th and the 31st.
And Ted, sorry, Director Pileski, do you need anything special? I mean, do we just need the ordinance passed by the end of March? Does it need to be sent anywhere? Do you need any prep time before the end of the month?
It needs to be passed, and then I have to submit it to Lorraine County Budget Commission.
Okay. Yeah. But I mean, not that we want to cut it too close, but worst case, I mean, I could courier it over to.
Yeah, I don't want to drag this out to March 31st. I can.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah. No, Mr. Tolet.
For you, Mr. President. Did you receive the budget from the Muni Court judges or?
Yeah, we received the final budget last Friday, I think it was.
Okay, I didn't know if you were still working off estimates.
Yeah, we were waiting on the one budget. Well, plus they have all these special funds that we were waiting on too. They have like, about 5 or 6 special revenue funds that some of their court fees go into them funds. We were waiting on those as well. So everything that has been submitted and entered.
Thank you.
Yep.
Does anybody else have any questions? Like Mr. Pileski said, it is an overwhelming document in the amount of dollars that are coming in and throughout the city. And to really emphasize the work that he has done and his staff, John, and their staff is just unbelievable. It is a daunting task, and based on the COVID, what we're going through there and trying to really work through this process. And I really commend you, Ted, and the work that you guys do over there. It's really it's a privilege to work with you because you're the best in the business. So
thank you.
Does anybody have any questions in regards to this? Ms. Davis.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I know that's a lot of paper.
Yeah.
but it's hard to slide up and down and highlight over your computer. So are we gonna by chance get a hard copy, or is that on request?
You can certainly have a hard copy. We can put them in your boxes, or if you like, or we can, you can stop up and get them, whatever you choose.
Box, please.
Okay.
I'm requesting.
I'm trying to think about when I'm gonna have to probably try to get the key rather than slide them in the slot, because if I put them in the slot, I'm sure they're all gonna be messed up when you get them, so. But I'll get them in your boxes tomorrow.
Thank you.
If anybody wants them.
Yeah, Ted, I'm good with mine. I can go through it on my computer and stuff like that. I know a lot of us like to use the paper products to review and everything like that. I am good. We can have an outreach to the other council members and see if that's what they like. But again, thank you for your hard work and efforts, you and John and your staff.
Thank you.
But we will have another meeting, obviously, on the 8th to have further discussion. I would encourage everyone to talk to Ted prior to that if there's any questions in regards to that. Oh, Mayor Warfield, now you're on the screen. Mayor Warfield?
Yeah, thank you, Council President. So to your point, I just wanted to touch on a couple things here. One, it's been great working with Ted and John to go through this. I want to give a special shout out not only to them, but to the department heads as well, working with the Safety Service Director, not only for being reasonable in terms of thinking about where we are in terms of financially, over the past 4 years, this is the lowest estimated revenue we've had in 4 years. It's also the highest carryover we had over the last 4 years. So it's good that we can be able to match those two up, with the lack of revenue being able to match it with having a strong carryover to help us make it. But to your point, we need to really start thinking about the future. So our plan is to, really watch not only how we're trending this year in terms of our revenue, income tax revenue, but be strategic in our decision making. Just really, again, just want to give a shout out to the folks last year in 2020 that not only helped manage the CARES Act money, but also made the operational changes like the police department did, the fire department did. There was a lot of operational sacrifices folks made to help make this carryover here. So I just want to give them a special shout out as well. If you have any kind of operational questions, feel free to direct those as well to myself and the Safety Service Director. If you have questions about, the implications of certain budget items, what does it mean, for departments? So I just want to make sure, our door is open for that as well.
Thank you, Mayor. Is anybody, even in the committee or just here? I see Miss Mitchell is here. Anybody have any questions in regard to it? Ted?
Mr. Chair, one other document that's toward the bottom of your handout is the list of the projects submitted by the city engineer. So you'll see what's happening in there with water sewer projects in that document.
Okay. Yeah. Miss Mitchell?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you to Mr. Pileski. Any idea on how much money we're going to have to spend on streets this year?
Well, I think we appropriated, let me see real quick. We've been taking the street program out of the issue 6 monies. Let me try to pull that up.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ted. Yeah, I don't know if I was trying to share my screen here. I don't know if I think it was on there a minute ago.
Yeah. So in the issue, here we go.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, he proposed there's 1.7 million in the 2021 program, in addition to these other projects with the Lowell Street, Golf Road, Burns Road, Abbey Road, those projects. And in addition to that, there was some monies appropriated into the Muni Motor Vehicle Fund. But I think most of that was for design work for, I believe it was the East Broad Street widening and there was one. Yeah, Cleveland Street, so.
So
But
if you recall, those two projects are going to be funded primarily with federal dollars, but we do have a share in that. And what I've been talking with John, and we're hoping to take the local share of those projects, which is significant, out of the Muni Motor Vehicle Fund. So we're hanging on to some of that money down the line for East Broad Street and Cleveland Street. But I believe they'll be in the design phase this year. I don't know if John's in the meeting or not, but I believe that the design is going on this year for those two projects. So you have, I hope that answered your question, Donna. We got 1.7 and then a few extra dollars for some of the local share of the issue OPWC projects.
So it'll be excuse me, Mr. Chair, through you. It'll be 1.7 minus the local shares?
No, 1.7 is what we have appropriated for the 2021 resurfacing. Yeah.
Thank you. We can spend every penny of that.
Yep. And then if you notice on your amount available to appropriate in the 2016 half% income tax fund, there is still 1,677,000 that has gone unappropriated at this point.
Right.
So I'm not sure, we have collected during the good years more than what we anticipated. So there is a little bit of extra money, and I'm not sure what we're going to do with that, but there is extra money yet left to appropriate.
Thank you, sir. We can spend that on streets, I am sure. Thank you. I'm just going to keep harping on that. We can spend it on streets. We can find streets to be done. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Is there any further discussion in regards to the budget? I know, again, it is overwhelming and daunting to review it, but
Council President?
Yes, Mayor Whitfield.
I didn't get a chance to mention that, we are still advocating for federal dollars to come to assist as well. I just want to make sure we might be asking council to pass a resolution or something to help us push our Congress and our Senate to pass the American Rescue Plan, which would give us some more resources for the city. So
sure, very good. Yeah, we would look forward to that resolution. We can get that in place. It's just, so that the federal government hears our voice and for these cities here. So is there any further discussion in regards to the budget? So again, we're going to try to come into council chambers for the finance. I would really like to go into, I know the majority of them here really like to go into the next meeting, which would be March the 1st for full council. I'd like to do that, but I will discuss it with but we're going to go into finance on March the 8th for sure in council chambers for that meeting, just because I think if people want to come in or talk about it, and I'll work with Mr. Brubaker in regards to making sure the city hall is kind of making sure that we have enough chairs, the spacing, the sanitizing and all that. Okay, thank you. All right, we have one more item, number 7. We've considered matter of the 2021 temporary appropriations. In ordinance authorizing the said temporary appropriations changes per the attached.
We don't have anything tonight, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so that will not happen. That's removed. Does anybody else have anything else before the committee? If not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Thank you, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thanks.
Good night.